Good evening, everyone. I'm really glad you're here. It's good to see you. I was just about to have a drink, and it's nice to have some company. So come join me if you will, and we will drink and do a little reading, and I think we'll have a good time. Hope we have a good time. Um, but yeah, come join me. I brought the beer today, good old American Amber. So feel free to drink whatever you want, whatever you got. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that we have a good time, right? And with that being said, cheers to you. And Jesus too. It's pretty good. A little frothy. It'll be all right. Anyway, tonight I just wanted to kind of go over real quick a few things from the U.S. Constitution, which I have here. And kind of the reason behind this, I noticed a lot of people either don't know what the Constitution says or are completely unaware of it. There's a lot of misinformation going around, and just wanted to kind of go over it together, and maybe we'll learn something that we didn't know. Maybe I'll learn something that I didn't know. You never know, right? Um, but in particular, I wanted to go over my favorite part of the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights, which I think, this is just my opinion, but I think it's the most important part of the Constitution. Because we do have rights. We have things that can't be taken away. I wanted to make this a longer video. I was going to do the whole thing at once, but it was just way too long. So I'm going to break it up into chunks, and we'll go from there. But yeah, today we'll start with the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and it'll be good. I think it'll be good. So let's read together. The real quick background, right? The United States and England went to war. The colonists wanted independence, 1776 and all that stuff. And originally the United States was under a confederation, right? They had these things, this thing called the Articles of Confederation. And the founding fathers felt like it was a little too loose. The federal government didn't have enough power. So they all got back together again and came up with the U.S. Constitution. And there is so much more to it than that, but that's it in a nutshell. So anyway, without further ado, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Pretty short, pretty simple, but there's a lot in here. And I'll break it down real quick. And let's see. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. So, right, we don't have a national religion. We don't live in a country where you have to be one religion or you get executed or punished or fined or whatever, right? We have freedom of religion. And I've seen that interpreted different ways. A lot of people seem to think that that means you have freedom from religion instead of freedom of religion, which isn't true, right? Read it again. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. The key word here is law. You can't make a law, right? You can't put it on paper that this religion is bad and this religion is good, or this is allowed and this isn't. That's all it says. It doesn't say that you can't pray, right? I mean, if somebody wants to pray in their local courthouse or in Congress or your state house or whatever, they're free to do so. It doesn't mean that you pull crosses off war memorials. It doesn't mean that you take the Ten Commandments out of your courts. That's not what it says. It says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, or maybe they're unaware. So I just wanted to clear that up because It's important. It's important that we have freedom of religion and not freedom from religion. It's important. Anyway, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So I kind of covered that, but real quick, you can't tell people that they can't practice their religion, right? Any denomination, any religion, anything, you know. If you want to pray, you're free to pray. If you want to go out and preach, you know, go out and preach. Now, there's extenuating circumstances, obviously, you know. You can't go to the middle of the freeway and preach. That's just absurd, right? But we all know what it means, right? I think you get it. I think we all get it. As long as you're not bothering anybody, as long as you're not hurting anyone or getting in the way, like, you're free to do your religion. So, abridging the freedom of speech, right? You can say what you want, and actually, this one is kind of one of the major reasons why I decided to make this video today. I see a lot of people that don't believe in the freedom of speech anymore, and I'm shocked. I actually am. I'm very shocked. When I was a kid and when I was younger, that just would have been unthinkable, and I mean that. I mean that in every sense of the word, like quite literally unthinkable. It would have been alien if you'd said that some speech shouldn't be allowed. We would have looked at you like you were an alien, like you had two heads or something, because it was just so absurd. We let people who we disagree with, sometimes terrible people who believe, in my opinion, not good things, but you're free to say them. And yes, even hate speech. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that hate speech doesn't exist. It does. There are people out there that say horrible, hateful things, and I wish they wouldn't. But we have to. We have to let them say those things. And I hear you, those of you who disagree with me. I hear it. You know, why? Why should we let people say these hateful, horrible things? They shouldn't. They shouldn't have to. Shouldn't be allowed, right? I hear you. I get it. However, level with me here. The cost of not allowing hate speech is greater than the cost of allowing it. And when we look at history, I think this statement will hold. I think it will hold up very well. Because if you start allowing or disallowing speech, based off of what? You know, your opinion? You know, what you might find distasteful or hateful, I might not. And somebody else might feel differently. So the question is, who gets to determine hate speech? And history has shown that when you've given government that power, once you've opened up that box, you're not going to get it back in again. And horrible, horrible things are going to happen, right? To give the power to silence your opponents results in tyranny and oppression, right? And history today, look around today, there are countries where you go to prison for simply speaking your mind, for simply saying what you believe. Is it the kind of country you want to live in? It's not the country I want to live in, right? I would rather let a million people say hateful things than to let innocent people go to jail for speaking their mind. And another thing is, how are you going to arrive at the truth? You know, how can the truth be spoken? Sometimes the truth is hurtful, by the way. The truth isn't always easy. There's a lot of people who, when you try to say or do the right thing, they want to shut you down. And it's important. It's important that they're free to speak their minds and speak the truth. Because if they aren't, we're lost. We'll be utterly lost. Yeah, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but, you know, there's countries in Asia, there's countries in the Middle East. You get executed for simply criticizing the government, for simply speaking your mind and saying this isn't right, you know? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that you I hope that you at least stop and think about that. The cost is great and terrible, absolutely terrible. We mustn't go there. Anyway, moving on. Freedom of speech or of the press. So the press gets to be the press, right? You can't make a law. You can't restrict the press. And press, you don't need to be a part of the press, right? You don't need a big fancy building. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need a newsroom. You can just be a guy with a webcam, right? You can be the press, or a woman with a pen and paper, right? Or a typewriter, whatever. Any one of us can be a journalist. Citizen journalism is important, right? Because as is shown, example today, at least in my opinion, when we have things consolidated, when you do have just a few large companies, organizations that your news comes from, they aren't always honest, right? So we got to keep them honest, right? And we need to be free to do so, which means the government needs to stay out of our business and let us make sure that the truth is told. So, freedom of the press, also very good. Or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, right? You get to peacefully assemble anywhere. I mean, once again, to use my freeway example, you don't get to peacefully assemble in the middle of the freeway, despite what some organizations would like you to believe, right? You don't get to block the freeway. I don't know why do you, I don't know. Whatever. Don't want to get carried away with that one, but, in your home or in the park, we get to peacefully assemble. I know this may sound silly, but if you and the guys want to get together and have a poker night, you get to do that, right? It's your right. If old grandma wants to get together and have a knitting session with her friends and play Rummy Cube, you can do that too. You have a right to assemble peacefully in any manner, any shape, any form. The government can't say, no, grandma can't knit. I mean, once again, that would just be absurd. So, yeah, it's good stuff. And that also, the right of the people to peacefully assemble, kind of ties into this next one, to petition the government for redress of grievances, which also ties into freedom of speech. That's why freedom of speech is so important, because if we can't speak our minds, we're not free to redress our grievances, right? We can't let the government know what's wrong if they're not willing to listen. And we need to make them listen quite often, but you have a right. You got a right to petition the government. You have a right to get out there and protest. You have a right to write your congressman or your president or whoever. Call them up, fax them, email them, all that good stuff. It's your right. And I hope you exercise that right. I hope you are. I hope you're doing everything you can to make your voice heard. And let them know, because if you don't, they're not going to be accountable. They're just... they're going to listen to the other voices that are speaking to them. And quite often those voices have a lot of money, if you know what I mean. So it's important. Anyway, I think that about covers it for the First Amendment. Real quick, I wanted to share something else that kind of ties into this. And it comes from the Declaration of Independence. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read a short little excerpt written by good old Jefferson. And this section states that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Self-evident, that they are endowed by their Creator, right? Say what you will, but we are endowed by our Creator with certain rights, and these rights don't just disappear because of war or famine or disease or any national emergency. Our rights cannot be taken away. And I know that sounds extreme, but once again, you need to weigh the costs. What happens when somebody gets to decide an emergency, or decide that we're going to go to war, and your rights suddenly don't exist anymore? What happens when that happens? You can't open that box. It needs to stay closed, because once again, if you open it, terrible things will happen. And I believe these rights were given to us divinely, and they can't be taken away by anybody, no matter what they say. So, just my opinion. And I am one guy, but I wanted to share it with you, and hopefully if you at least stop and think, I'll consider it a job well done. So, and likewise, I'd like to hear your opinions. What do you think? What are your opinions? I'm interested. I like to reach across the aisle and see both sides. If I'm wrong, I definitely don't want to be wrong. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, anyway, good stuff, right? Like beer, good stuff. Well, the right beer. And the right beer is the beer that works for you. Or anything, actually, right? We're all different. That's really good. I'm going to have another sip. Anyway, that's all for tonight. I hope you'll join me again for the next amendments. And once again, I hope I have a good conversation going. And I hope you have a good night, a good weekend, a good evening. I hope things work out for you. And if you're struggling, you're not doing well, I hope the best for you. And I hope that, and I pray that that good things will happen to you, and whatever's going on in your life, I pray that that season will pass for you. And I do. I really do. I wish the best for you all. So, and I'm getting too sappy here. Yeah. Good night, everybody. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you again.